So here's a question for now. Is it better to be safe and, a little bored or completely terrified, but also kind of obsessed?
That is basically the mission statement for the entire genre we're looking at today.
It really is. We are stepping back into a world where blood is literally currency, the school curriculum is just survival, and the love interests are, well, actually predatory.
It's a very high-stakes landscape. We're talking about the explosion of romantasy. That's fantasy romance. And one book in particular, a sequel that has pretty much split the community right down the middle.
We are talking about The Bond That Burns by Briar Boleyn. It's book 2 in the Bloodwing Academy series. And to get ready for this, we've gone pretty wide with our sources. We're not just looking at the book itself. We've pulled from some really spirited debates on the fantasy romance subreddit, some amazing breakdowns from book blogs like what Laura reads and Book Delico.
Oh, they do great work.
They really do. And we've even looked at the sort of vibe checks coming out of the Lemonade community.
Right. And our mission today is to figure out why this book is causing such a polarized reaction. We want to unpack the enemies to lovers trope when it gets, really toxic.
Yeah.
And we also need to get into the deeper lore. Because underneath all the angst, there's this really complex system of dragons and vampires and blood magic that suggests something much bigger is going on.
It's so much more than just will they, won't they?
Yeah.
So, okay, let's get into it. For anyone who might have read book 1 on Wings of Blood a while back, let's set the scene. We are in Sangratha.
Right. Sangratha, and specifically Bloodwing Academy. And if you need a mental image, just think dark academia, but with a significantly higher chance of dying.
Ah, yeah, that's a good way to put it.
It's a world run by these powerful high blood houses. They're essentially vampire nobility. The whole atmosphere is just oppressive. It's gothic, dark. Everyone is plotting.
And the event that kicked this whole thing off was our protagonist, Medra, accidentally waking up a dragon named Nyxaris. Which, in most fantasy stories, that's a win. You get a dragon, you win the war.
Usually, yeah. But here, it's a huge liability. In The Bond That Burns, we see that Nyxaris isn't a pet, he's not a mount, he is a nuclear weapon, and everyone wants the launch codes.
And they think Medra has them. The high-blood houses all want to control her because they think that means they control the dragon.
Exactly. They want that power for themselves.
But the cat, and this is the part I just love about her character, is that she's bluffing. She doesn't control him at all.
Not even a little bit. And that is the central tension of this whole book. It's a massive high-stakes bluff. She's stuck in a school full of vampires who would kill her in a second, pretending she's in charge of this ancient dragon while, desperately trying to figure out how to actually do it before they find out.
It's fake it till you make it, but if you fail, you get executed.
Or eaten. Probably both.
Probably both.
And we should pause on Nyxaris for a second, because the sources, especially Book Delico, point out something really interesting about him. He isn't treated like a monster in the story. He's a character with trauma.
Right, that's such a Kim distinction. He's not just some beast acting on instinct.
Exactly. He was used as a weapon in the Dragon Wars. He carries all of that anger, that resentment. So his dynamic with Medra isn't master and servant. It's two beings, both fighting for their own autonomy.
Huh. They're basically mirroring each other's fight.
They are. She's fighting the high bloods for her freedom, and he's fighting the history of being weaponized. It adds this whole other layer to it.
It really does. But let's be honest. We have to talk about the vampire in the room, the romance. This is where the internet seems to be just losing its mind.
The relationship between Medra and Blake Drakharrow, it is intense.
Intense is putting it mildly. Blake is described in our sources as having Draco Malfoy energy, but, cranked up to 1,000.
Brooding, morally gray, heir to a powerful house, all the boxes ticked.
But the setup for this book forces them together in this very specific way.
It's that forced proximity trope, but with a biological twist. So Blake betrayed Medra in book 1. Their trust level is 0. But because of how things played out, Medra is now his only blood source.
So he literally needs to feed from her to survive.
Correct. Which creates this insane dependency. He hates that he needs her. She hates that she's keeping the guy who betrayed her alive. It's that classic push and pull, but with life or death stakes.
But this is where that big reader divide comes in. I was deep in the Reddit threads, and it is just wild how split everyone is. You have people giving it 5 stars, calling it an enemies to lovers masterpiece. They are living for that tension.
That's the addiction side of it, right? They want that super high-octane conflict where every single look is a battle.
But then you have the exhaustion side. And I think this is a totally valid criticism. We saw people asking, Do they actually end up together? Because I am tired.
I saw that. They felt all the progress from book 1 was just gone, wiped out.
Yeah, it was just the same argument on a loop for 400 pages.
And that's such a tricky balance for a slow burn romance. There's a really fine line between building tension and just stalling. If it's constantly one step forward, two steps back, readers start to feel like their emotional investment isn't paying off.
It's the miscommunication trope on steroids.
Yeah,
You just want to scream, just talk to each other.
right. But they can't. And it's not just the pacing, is it? There's also this debate about the nature of the relationship itself, the possession debate.
Yes. In dark romance, there's always that line between you're mine in a romantic sense and you're my property.
And some readers really felt Blake crossed that line, that his possessiveness wasn't protective, it was restrictive. He wouldn't let her just exist as her own person.
Which stops being sexy and starts being just stifling. And I think that's why the character Cage is so important. He's the total opposite.
Cage is the safe option, the green flag, the healthy choice.
Poor Cage. He's respectful, he's kind, he's available, he's right there. And you can just hear readers yelling at Medra to just pick him. It's like shouting at the queen, don't go in the basement.
Don't date the vampire who betrayed you.
Exactly.
But the story rarely goes for the safe option. Cage represents stability. If Medra chose him, the central tension just dissolves. The story's over. By keeping her tied to Blake, the author keeps the stakes high. Blake's jealousy over Cage drives half the plot.
So Cage is basically just there to highlight how volatile Blake is. He's the control group in the experiment.
Precisely. And for readers who prefer healthy relationships, watching the protagonist ignore the good guy for the walking red flag is just, it's incredibly frustrating. But for the readers who are there for the drama, Cage is just an obstacle.
It really does highlight the difference between what we want in fiction versus reality. In real life, you pick Cage every single time.
Oh, absolutely. But in fiction, you read about Blake because Cage isn't going to nearly start a war just by walking into a room.
Okay, speaking of consequences, we have to pivot to the lore. Because while everyone's arguing about who Medra should kiss, Blake is physically changing, and I think it's the most fascinating part of the entire book.
The transformation theory, yeah. This is where the fantasy part of romantasy just completely takes over.
The Reddit threads were all over this. Blake isn't just a vampire anymore. Something else is happening. And the theory is pretty wild.
The theory, which the book seems to heavily support, is that Blake is turning into a dragon.
A dragon, which is, a bit of a biological leap for a vampire. How is that even happening?
It all comes down to the catalyst. He's drinking Madra's blood to survive, right? And Madra is a writer. Her blood is different. It carries the magic of the dragon bond. It's potent.
So her blood is acting like a mutagen.
It seems like it. And this connects back to what we were saying about generational curses. The sources suggest this is exactly what happened to Blake's father.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there's speculation that the Drakharrow family line has some kind of dormant gene or curse that gets activated by writer blood.
That changes everything. It's not just he's moody because he's a vampire. It's he's aggressive because he's literally turning into a territorial, fire-breathing predator.
Exactly. It recontextualizes his behavior. It doesn't excuse it, maybe, but it gives it a magical root cause. He's fighting his own biology. He feels his humanity or, his vampirism slipping away.
The irony is just perfect. He wants to possess Medra, to control her. But by drinking her blood to maintain that control, he's becoming something. Something that might actually be bound to her in a way he never wanted.
The more he tries to consume her, the more he loses himself. It's a parasitic relationship that's backfiring.
I want to zoom out a bit because the world building is doing more than just being a backdrop here. We get the solstice ball.
Of course.
Yeah.
The obligatory ball scene. It's never just a party.
Never just a dance. And the sources say this is where things really go off the rails with dark magic. But what caught my eye in what Lara Reed's blog was the mention of secret societies. Even the teachers are in on it.
Yes, Professor Rodriguez is apparently part of one, and that's a huge deal because it expands the threat. In Book 1, the danger is mostly other students. In Book 2, you realize the whole institution is rotten. The faculty are players in the game.
And then there's the idea of hidden shifters.
Yeah, which just adds to the paranoia. Characters who don't even know they can change form until something triggers it. It means you can't even trust yourself. You might be a secret weapon and not even know.
Which brings us to Florence, Madra's friend. There's a subplot here that feels really important. She gets injured, and they use dragon's blood to save her.
Which is probably not medically advisable.
Not at all. This isn't a normal blood transfusion. What happened?
Yeah, we don't see the full result, but the sources all stress that this has massive, unpredictable consequences. And it ties back to that central theme of identity through consumption.
Right. Blake drinks rider blood and changes. Florence gets dragon blood and Drady
Ah.
changes.
It's like blood in this world isn't just life force, it's data. It rewrites your biological code.
That is a great way to put it. You are what you consume. Maedra, Blake, Florence, they're all having their identities overwritten by these blood exchanges. It kind of calls the whole idea of a stable self into question.
It's a bit of body horror that just sneaks up on you in the middle of all the romance.
It's actually pretty disturbing. So we've got all these plot threads tangling together, and then we hit the ending, which, from the sounds of it, was abrupt.
Whiplash was the word I saw the most. A Reddit user described it as watching a movie when the electricity suddenly goes out.
Oh, that's so frustrating. Just a hard cut to black.
Pretty much, it ends on this massive cliffhanger where everything, the relationships, everyone's physical safety is just left completely up in the air.
And there's another betrayal too, right? Blake's brother, Victor.
Yes, apparently Victor does Blake real dirty right at the end. And there are these big hints that Blake's father, who everyone thought was gone, might still be a factor.
Which feeds right back into that generational curse theory. If his dad went through the same dragon transformation, he's the ghost of Christmas future for Blake.
He's the warning. This is what happens if the change completes.
Okay, so here's the big question. We have readers who are exhausted. We have a cliffhanger that feels like a power outage. We have a love triangle that's frustrating people. Is the book even worth it?
And the consensus, which is kind of surprising, is a resounding yes. Even the people who complained the loudest admitted they'd already pre-ordered book 3.
That's the definition of a guilty pleasure.
Or just pure addiction. The comparison that keeps popping up is Fourth Wing meets Zodiac Academy. And those are, absolute titans in this space. The bond that burns hits that same sweet spot. It's messy, it's frustrating, but it's just so readable.
It's the soap opera effect. You just have to know what happens next, even if you're yelling at the characters.
And I think it works because the stakes feel real. The magic system, the cost of blood, it gives real weight to the drama. It's not just teen angst, it's magical consequence. If you break up with your boyfriend here, he might literally starve to death or turn into a lizard.
That does raise the bar a little.
It really does.
So before we wrap, I want to leave our listener with a thought that really struck me. We talked about how Blake is drinking Maedra's blood, and that's turning him into a dragon.
Yes.
And Maedra is a dragon rider. Her entire magic is about bonding with and controlling dragons.
I see where you're going with this.
If Blake fully transforms, does she technically control him?
That is the question, isn't it?
Just think about that power flip. For 2 whole books, Blake has been the possessive one, the one saying, "You are mine." But if he becomes the very creature she's destined to bond with,
then she holds the leash. It would be a complete, total inversion of the trope. Instead of him owning her, her magic would give her power over his very soul.
And that would be a twist worth all the frustration.
It would recontextualize every single argument they've ever had.
Right.
It turns the victim into the master.
Well, on that note, we're going to leave you to think about the ethics of dragon riding your toxic ex-boyfriend.
A sentence I truly never thought I would say.
That's the joy of the deep dive. Thanks for listening. If you want to fall down this rabbit hole, check out the show notes for links to the blogs and Reddit threads we mentioned.
And as always, question the narrative.
See you next time.